Hi, DuneLady here. I'm feeling a little bit dumb. I misquoted um, Jessica from my last video about what she says when she is in her terrifying, spice filled rage, which was actually, "You will see the beauty and the horror." I just loved it. You're scared of her, and you should be. Like I said before, the Bene Gesserit, if they're in a room with you, they are a danger to your life. They are high level manipulators, plans within plans. They are always a step ahead of you. They're incredible fighters, though that is not something that's well known because they don't use it unless there is a direct threat to their life. They don't want you to know how dangerous they are. They want you to think that you're in control, but you're really not. And you see that with Gaius Helen Mohaim and the Emperor. She gives him ideas, directs him, tells him what she thinks, but really, this is all she's following is the Bene Gesserit plans. And she makes the best decisions for what she thinks could come next. Because with every decision, the future changes. So they do have to react based on what has happened. And we do see that sway at some point in the film because she sees that there is no way out for the Emperor. He is not going to remain the Emperor. So his best bet is keeping Irulan on the throne. And so we then see a shift in how she gives him advice. So after that, something I want to touch on real quick is that I just love this attention to detail. We have Paul talking about Caladan, and we see Caladan in the first movie, and it is a water-based society. It kind of reminds you of Scotland. There are castles on top of rocks and bluffs with the sea down below. In Fremen, there is water scarcity. They have built their whole culture around navigating not having water. They wear still suits. They recycle all of the moisture that's released by their body. They have the noses, I forget what they're called, but it's like a catch tube that goes in their nose that the exhalation catches the water and is recycled into the still suit so that they can drink it. Their feces and urine is recycled into, again, drinking water from their still suits. You see their living conditions are all kind of self-contained so that no moisture escapes, and that's why they can take out their nose and the catch tubes, and they can also even take off their still suits when they're inside. When they're out in the desert, you see that they're intense and that they have setups that are also catching the moisture in the air so that they don't have to be capturing their body's moisture quite so much because they can drink from the tents and their setups that are around them. So getting back to why I started talking about this, because they don't have water, they lack some language that describes things that happen surrounding water. And that is really, again, amazing. This comes directly from the books and Frank Herbert's writing, that they don't have a word for the sea. They don't have a word for swimming. They don't have a word for rain. This is all not only omitted completely from their language, but they can't even form a concept Chani says to Paul, I don't believe you. You can, what, swim? You can dive. You can dive into water. What is, no, I gotta see this for myself. I don't think that this is real. And that's because all they know is Arrakis and the arid climate and the scarcity surrounding water. So that is really cool, and I love that attention to detail and the fact that Denis found a way to fit all of this into the script. This is some very dense reading material, and I was really fearful that so much would be left out, as was in Dune Part 1, and that was just for time. When you're building a story, you can't include everything, and Dune is famously difficult to adapt. The first Dune movie that was ever going to be made was by Jodorowsky, and that was a failed property. A ton of money went into it, and we never saw it happen and come to fruition because it couldn't be done. There is a movie about Jodorowsky's Dune, and the art that came from that, and I think some of the source material that came from a graphic novel that Jodorowsky was involved in. So I do highly recommend that. The graphic novel is called The Inkle, and that also has some connections with the Fifth Element. So, again, just some hardcore sci-fi and highly recommended. So, going from there, we see the Beast Raban, and you start to see the breakdown in his abilities. He was put into power by Vladimir Harkonnen, and he is having a hard time. He's supposed to be finding Paul, if Paul still exists, and exterminating the Fremen. And he is completely ineffectual. He is failing over and over. They are trying their best. He is trying his best, and you see his incompetence. And that is not lost on the Baron. He is very much unhappy with the Beast Raban. And so, due to his political genius and scheming, he starts looking at other options, which brings Feyd-Rautha into the story. Feyd is a very capable fighter. He's a little bit younger. He has been brought up by the Baron, and so we see the introduction of Austin Butler's character as Feyd-Rautha in the gladiatorial arena, which is given some vibes. It is very scary in there. Right off the bat, I saw a society that was indoctrinated, and I also got some Nazism vibes with the gestures that the crowd was making, and it made me feel really, really uncomfortable. So, you have the last 3 Atreides in existence in the gladiatorial arena, and this was arranged for Feyd, née Baron, and that was set up by the Baron. They have been heavily drugged and stabbed, and you see, though, that there's a test going on because the 3rd gladiator has not been drugged and has not been slashed or anything. And this is the Baron testing Feyd. Show me what you got. And you see these really gross facial things going on between the two of them. And I almost got like a little bit of a sexual nature happening from the Baron because he is just disgusting and vile in every way. And you see that Fade is right on board with that, and he's all about torture and cruelty and violation and all of the nastiest things that come from us in our society, as well as the pleasure that is derived in the Harkonnens by doing these acts of violence. So you see Fade easily take down the drugged Atreides, but he loves it. He's also cheating. He has his shield on, so he's in no real danger, and he doesn't even try. But he notices that the third person is not staggering, and he gives his uncle, or his grandfather or uncle, I don't remember, a look, and he's like, show me what you got, baby. And he's like, I got this. Let's do it. So he starts fighting him, and he's a formidable fighter. The Atreides are. And in order to show who he is, he decides to take off his shield. And he's like, I'll show you what I got. I'm made for this. And he starts fighting, and they are toe-to-toe. You see a gathering of some Harkonnen creatures that are like clicking around them. And I think that they're there kind of for protection for Fade because, yeah, they don't actually want him to die. So they are there to protect his life and also to keep the gladiator / prisoner in check. One thing that I noticed right away is you get a Game of Thrones Jaime Lannister callback. And I loved that so much. They see that Fade might be in danger, and one of those creatures steps up and puts a knife in his back. And Fade was enraged by that. He said, "Get back!" He wants a fair fight. He wants to show who he is and that he has power and dominance over any fighter. He was terrifying. I loved it. We get a little bit of the planetary physics. We shift to black and white, which I absolutely love to see. It was weird and wonderful, sci-fi at its best. So we see the sun working a little bit differently when you're outside on the planet of Gidi Prime. And I definitely wanted more of that right away. And you do see Fade take down that last Atreides. And we'll get into Lady Fenring next.